Hey all, Ethan Thampe again, your Missouri hemp lobbyist. Wanted to take the opportunity today to do kind of a deep dive on not only why, but how I believe we're going to win this fight, both here in Missouri and here in United States Congress. Right, so just a quick update. We anticipate the United States House of Representatives takes up these budget bills this afternoon, evening, and passes them. There's some talk that there may be 30 members or so who oppose the hemp language, but I'm not optimistic there's going to be enough votes to keep this government shutdown going and restart this process. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but I'm not optimistic. In any case, let's assume the Mitch McConnell, Andy Harris ban on hemp goes through, gets enacted into law. Obviously, from everyone should know this, we have 1 year before that provision gets enacted. And so what's going to happen? Well, over the last 24 hours, I think a lot of our industry interests have consolidated, a lot of industry interests from outside hemp, from the hospitality space and the beverage space, and even in the health and wellness and the medical space, I think have consolidated. We've seen a lot of anger and a lot of support from the special needs community, from the veterans groups, and I think that there are going to be a lot of angry people that Washington, D.C. does not understand how to roll in this, how to stake in this. And I think you're going to see kind of a coalescence of interests and kind of a more unified voice for the industry and for consumers and for Americans step up. Right? We anticipate that Congress is going to come back to the marijuana and hemp issue in January and February. Right? So we've been planning actually this for about 3 months now, but we are planning to engage Congress very directly in that after the turn of the year. We're planning fly-ins, we're raising money, we're talking to candidates, we're talking to elected officials, we're talking to public health and public safety stakeholders. We're getting ready for a big fight. And it's a fight that I think, will win. And here's why. One of the lessons I've learned over the last 3 years is that when we show up, in politics, showing up is 90% of the game, right? And when we stick up for ourselves, we win. That's how we've been able to survive being outspent 20, 30 times to 1 in Missouri the last 3 years, right? I remember in 2023, when the first ban hemp bill by MoCan Trade got filed, we had a heck of a fight in the House General Laws Committee, but we killed that bill without a committee vote, right? And we came through in 2024. We had a very difficult fight in 2025. We have an even tougher fight in 2026. But when we show up, when we advocate for ourselves, when we're willing to fight, we win. Right? That's a lesson I take from the last 3 years. I also want to share with you a little bit of my own history on this issue. So part of the reason I became a lobbyist is that 11 years ago, I achieved, in my mind, a significant political victory, right? And that convinced me that I had the ability to help influence these processes of government, these decisions that are made by those elected to represent us. Very specifically, I was living in Columbia, Missouri in 2014, and my city councilwoman, Ginny Chadwick, lied to us in the community about supporting a ordinance to decriminalize the home grow of cannabis. Right? And that was part of the promise that she made to us when she was running for office. We had it on record. It was in the Columbia Tribune. It was in the Columbia Missourian. It was on record. And then she gets elected, and 6, 7 months later, she turns around, flip-flops her vote on this ordinance that she had made a campaign promise to us about. And she was a swing vote on that issue. And we were furious. I walked out of that city council meeting that evening with my friends and my colleagues, and we said to the media, enough is enough. Jenny Chadwick lied to us. We were going to recall her. So we started a recall petition. And eventually we collected enough signatures for that recall petition to be valid. We submitted it to the city clerk. And a week before the special election was supposed to be set, my city councilwoman, who lied to us over this ordinance, resigned rather than face the pain of a recall election. That was a big deal. It was a city council seat, right? Wasn't a state representative seat, wasn't a U.S. Congress seat, it wasn't a U.S. Senate seat, it wasn't governor, but it was a city council seat. So a small jurisdiction. But that made me realize that strategic political activism can be very effective. And frankly, we wouldn't have been successful. We were lucky, right? We were lucky. We were lucky that my city councilwoman had alienated a large portion of her base with other decisions before she got to us, right? So we were lucky that she had kind of created the anger in her constituent base that helped us carry this recall issue, right? We just happened to be at the right place at the right time to say we're going to do something, and we pulled in a lot of other members of the community for reasons other than ours into this campaign. And we ultimately forced an action. We forced a politician to be accountable to us, right? And then next year, I got Representative Paul Kurtman to file a bill legalizing hemp agriculture in Missouri, you know, and that was what convinced me, hey, I can go talk to a lawmaker. They might listen to me. In fact, they might not just listen to me, they may like me. They may like my idea. They might do something about it, right? So Representative Paul Kurtman and I worked together for 4 years, and we passed that hemp bill in Missouri, and the industry as we know it got created in Missouri, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm still here in this fight to protect this heritage crop, this historic opportunity for Americans. And as we move forward, here's the plan, right? I've already kind of talked a little bit about we're going to be very active in Congress next year, right? We're going to do everything we can to get Congress to agree to a reasonable set of regulations and laws for Missouri. Well, not just for Missouri, for the entire United States. We're going to protect the entire industry in the entire country, right? But we're also going to make sure that we do not forgive and we do not forget when it comes to vote in the August primary and the November general election. So if you're not aware, your United States representatives, your U.S. congressmen and women, are up for election every 2 years. Your U.S. senators, and every state has 2 U.S. senators that represent the whole state. Those are up for election every 6 years, right? So what we are going to do, we're going to do this in 2026, and then we're going to do it in the presidential election in 2028. But we're going to make sure we look at all the races across the United States. We're going to make sure that we know who has a contested primary, who has a contested general election, right? Who kept their promises to us, who did the right thing for us, you know, who lied to us, who was so ignorant or so opposed to our interests that they voted for this ban on hemp, right? And we're going to take that to the voters in that state, wherever it is in the country. Because I guarantee you this, somewhere in the country, there is a United States congressman, there's a U.S. senator who their primary election might hinge on 20,000 votes or 50,000 votes, right? We're going to find that state, we're going to find that political opportunity. We're going to take this message to those voters in that state, right? And when we stand up for ourselves, when we show up, not just in the halls of Congress, not just in Jefferson City, but at the ballot box, that's where true power lies, right? Because when we can show politicians that we can inflict pain on them at the ballot box, when we can save their campaign by rallying voters over something that they did right, on the other hand, right, that's where we have true influence and true political power. So that's what's going to happen. It is going to be a rough year. It's going to be a challenging year. But if you're in this industry and you're still locked in, right, this is not an industry for the weak. This is not a industry for the faint of heart, right? We know what we're up against, and I'm very proud to work with American Shaman. I'm very proud to work with Torch. I'm very proud to work with Dr. Smoke here in Kansas City and groups in St. Louis and in the Boot Heel and in Southwest Missouri and in North Missouri. And I know that there's other associations, other organizations that are supportive of this issue. I'm glad to work with them as well, right? So we need to lock in. We need to be focused. We need to wake up every morning to do our business and pay attention to the laws that are being made and the politicians who are supposed to represent us and the industry associations and the consumer groups that act on our behalf. And we need to participate. We need to fundraise. Fundraising is absolutely key. I'm glad to see that this year we've had significant commitments come in from a variety of folks who understand what we're doing, know that we can be successful, and know that they need to do their part. So I'm very grateful for that. And we'll see exactly what happens, right? I've been in touch with Art Masillo from the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. I've been in touch with Brian Swenson from HIFA. I've been in touch with J.D. McCormick from American Healthy Alternatives Association. I've been in touch with probably a dozen other national association and trade groups and political action committees and so forth. And I know that our industry and its allies are coming together in a very powerful way. So I look forward, I'm excited for this next year of work, right? We're going to win this. We're going to win this for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. This is a fundamental, if you're in this industry, you don't just see this as a way to make money. You see this as a fundamental part, a fundamental aspect of your freedom as an American, right? That patriotic belief that fuels us is a very important facet. And I hope that you continue, that you lock in, that you continue to work with us, that you show up, that you contribute. And I will be with you guys every step of the way, as I have for the last 11 years, as this industry was formed and created and came into being and created such a great opportunity thanks to President Trump in 2018 signing that Farm Bill. So thank you again. I will do my best to reach out to all of you individually, although that's tough just given the number of contacts that we have around the state. So thank you, and let's get to work.